Hey, what is going on, everybody? I'm Noah from TechnoBuffalo.com, and this is the Samsung Epic 4G Touch, Galaxy S2, an Android smartphone for Sprint that honestly might just be the best Android phone you can currently buy, at least in the United States. Why do I say that? Let's find out. Alright, so I've had about a week now with the Epic 4G Touch, the first Galaxy S2 phone to hit a US carrier. Galaxy S2 introduced way back at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona this past February, and some of the phones have been available in other parts of the world for a little while now. This is the first US variant to come. We will see AT&T and T-Mobile versions very soon. We hope. The AT&T one we thought would be out already, but it's not yet. And then the rumor is that Verizon will not be getting a Galaxy S2 because instead a Galaxy S2 phone, because instead they will be getting a Galaxy Nexus or Nexus Prime, depending on which rumors you believe. But at any rate, the first Galaxy S2 phone to hit the States, and as we talked about in the unboxing video, also I should mention for those of you who like to read, there's a full written review over on TechnoBuffalo.com as well. But what Sprint and Samsung did is they stretched this thing out. It's a 4.52-inch display. They also added an LED notification light at the top there, which was blinking a second ago, which is a handy, there it goes, a really handy feature that for one, it's one of those things that I don't really appreciate until I have it. And then you use a phone like this, or Blackberries, or what have you, other phones that have that notification light, and it's like, wow, that's so handy because I don't have to turn my phone on to check to see if I have new email or new messages or whatever. I can just glance at it, see if the light's blinking. If the light's not blinking, go back to my business. Anyway, those are kind of the two key, most noticeable differentiators this device against the rest of the Galaxy S line, and then of course the size. And so here's the last device that I checked out for Sprint. Also a Samsung-made Android phone. It's the Conquer 4G, 3.5-inch display. The Epic 4G Touch, 4.52-inch display. You know what? Before I got this thing, I thought, this is a nice size. It could be a little bit bigger, but I'm not yet on that huge screen bandwagon. I don't know. They just, more than 4 inches just seems too big. 4 inches even might seem too big. Then I got this thing, and I used it for a while. And partially it's because, I haven't had time with all of the latest high-end Android phones recently, because John gets some of them, Mike gets some of them, I get some of them. And, I get to see them at trade shows, that kind of thing, but don't necessarily use them for a long time. And part of it is because this phone is so thin and so lightweight. It's a little bit thicker than the original Galaxy S2, but still thinner than 10 millimeters, and it's incredibly lightweight. And carrying it around in my pocket for a week, it doesn't feel any different than a different phone. It doesn't feel any different, really, than having, an iPhone 4 in my pocket or the other phones I've been using lately, because it's thin and it's lightweight, and once it's in the pocket, once I get used to it, as long as it fits in there, and I don't wear skinny hipster jeans because I'm not skinny or a hipster, once it gets in there, you don't really notice it. It's just a phone. So that being said, this thing is blazing fast. Sprint's network aside, which is a big consideration, we'll talk about that in a second, this phone just flies through things. The dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, Samsung-made processor, is fast. The dual-core Samsung processor. The screen is responsive, 4.52-inch, 800 by 480. It's WVGA resolution. We do sort of wish it was a QHD display, because frankly QHD on this thing would look even better. But as it is, it really looks nice. Super AMOLED Plus display. It's very vivid, very rich. We'll look real quickly at, here's some video that I shot. We'll find this video in the gallery. You can see the TouchWiz user interface. I don't find it all that obtrusive. I know Android purists likely, are going to root the phone and put something else on it, which is cool. Me, I don't really find it all that obtrusive. There's some bloatware on here. Honestly, it's more Sprint stuff than Samsung stuff that gets in the way. But I think the UI looks pretty nice. But here, we'll look at the gallery here, and here's some video I shot. This is 1080p video I shot outdoors. And you might have seen this already. It's posted to YouTube. It's 1080p sample. This is the intro I shot outdoors, and then there's some stuff I shot at the TechCrunch Reader Meetup, which is indoors in bad lighting. And not talking about the camera, just talking about the display. The display, very vivid, the colors pop, rich, you get that depth of field, you know, as best as you can on a screen this size that's a 2D screen. And really, it's fantastic. I would put this up there, you know, honestly, probably just below the iPhone 4 Retina display, which, you know, and the Droid Bionic QHD, the little bit of time I spent with it, also up there as well. Because you're lacking that super dense pixels per inch, and again, that's where QHD on here might have done a little bit better, but it's a fantastic display. Suffers a little bit in direct sunlight, otherwise really, really good. As I said, the processor flies along. Sprint's network, you know where I am, it's less than impressive when pitted next to the 4G offerings from Verizon and T-Mobile, but where you are, it might work better. Calls have been solid, the Wi-Fi's been solid. Getting back for a second to the Samsung TouchWiz interface, you know, you've got your Android widgets on here, you've obviously got some of that Sprint add-ons that I left on there as well, and then you've got some of the Samsung widgets, and then some of the UI elements. If we go in here, click and hold, add to home, so I want to add a widget, and I've got this little scrollable thing at the bottom. So some differences from stock Android. I think it's kind of user-friendly. You know, I sort of dig it. I know some people won't. It is what it is. Again, I don't think it's that obtrusive. It's definitely less obtrusive than older versions of TouchWiz. Sprint is cut, or Samsung rather, is cut down. They've eliminated, you know, several of their hubs and some of the other things, so a little bit easier to use and a little bit less offensive to the Android purists out there, I'm sure, or I would hope. If we go to messaging here, we'll take a look. I actually, the phone comes pre-installed with Swype. And I'm not the biggest fan of Swype or the Samsung default keyboard, frankly, because I tend to, I still touch type, you know, type with my thumbs as opposed to using Swype. So I went ahead and installed SwiftKey at the advice of a couple folks that I know who recommended it. And so far I've been liking SwiftKey pretty well. And the screen, you know, again, it's big enough to really afford a lot of room for somebody like me who's used to the thumb typing. I really like the BlackBerry Bold because, you know, it has the physical keyboard. I've turned haptic feedback off just because, you know, I don't really like the haptic feedback all that much. And also on this phone, as with many Samsung phones, the haptic feedback really makes you realize how plasticky and hollow this thing is. So the lightweight, awesome. The plasticky hollow feeling, not the best. When haptic feedback's on and you get the haptic feedback, it honestly kind of feels like there's a spring in there going boing, 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 which is not the feeling that I at least want out of my top-of-the-line, bleeding-edge smartphone. That being said, haptic feedback off works pretty well, and I'm really liking SwiftKey myself, even though I cannot type and talk at the same time. Turn it into the wide way, and the wide way here in horizontal orientation, you've just got a ton of room for typing. Again, you can argue that if the screen was higher resolution, you could make even more use, you know, with more pixels in a 4.52-inch display, you could do even more. That being said, it is what it is, and at least for somebody like me, for typing, you know, this is great, and this is where I can really see the benefit, feel the benefit of one of these larger displays. Otherwise, the camera, the still camera works very, very well, I think. It's an 8-megapixel camera with autofocus LED flash. You've got a 2-megapixel front-facing camera. Front-facing camera, you know, not much to write home about, but it works well for video chatting, self-portraits, that kind of thing. The main camera, one thing that's really nice about it, even though there's no physical hardware camera button, which is kind of a drag, physical hardware, there's no camera hardware button, which is kind of a drag. One thing that's nice is there's a virtual 2-stage camera button. So press, hold, focus, release, and shoot, which is kind of cool. Because, you know, it's kind of like you can do a little bit more of that thing that photographers do with, you know, focusing. You could do, you know, I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm a terrible photographer, but Mike Perlman, I'm sure, could do it. I could focus here on, but I could focus, say, on animal, and then bring it back over here. I don't know. That's not really the way to do it, but you can do some of that kind of stuff. From my perspective, as a total hack photographer, as a point-and-shoot camera, really works well. Impressed with the quality of photos, especially in natural lighting conditions. You know, the flash isn't going to do a ton for you, but it's a camera phone. What are you going to do? As for the camcorder itself, you can check out, I posted to YouTube and also on the site, that sample video I shot. The intro of the video shot outdoors in good lighting conditions, pretty good. For 1080p, it's it's camera phone 1080p, not standalone camcorder 1080p. So yeah, it's a full 1080p resolution, not as awesome as a good camcorder. In not so good lighting conditions, the other part of the video I shot at the TechCrunch Reader Meetup, you get some blurring, you get that low light suffering of image quality, and I had the flash on. You can leave the flash on continually when you're shooting. There's your digital zoom, which is controllable with the rocker switch, and there's the lock switch, which I didn't mean to hit. But I was going to show you that you can leave the light on during videoing, and that's what I did when I was filming the part inside, where I was actually filming a Samsung prototype Windows 8 tablet. And the light was necessary for getting the image, but it probably didn't help things. But at any rate, it's interesting, they actually shipped the phone with 720p as the default instead of 1080p because the image quality is a little bit better. But very good for still pictures, and definitely above average for video for a camcorder, but the 720p quality a little bit better than 1080p. I was trying to say 720p and 1080p at the same time, and I said 7/8 I don't even want to know what that means. Otherwise, what else can I tell you? Battery life has been fine, although I found that trying to use 4G sapped the battery, particularly the night that I was in downtown San Francisco, and reception in general just not good, and the phone kept trying to find a signal and latching onto a signal and then turning off, and that was kind of a drag. Call quality has been very good. The phone's got this, kind of plasticky, pebbly feel on the back there. It's still got this chin on the bottom, which, I don't know if that's there for ergonomics or just has to be there to fit some of the innards inside. Sort of too bad that's there, but it doesn't really get too much in the way. Overall, it's a solid smartphone. It's a solid Android phone. I really like it. I've had some qualms, like I said, with Sprint's performance, but the performance of the device itself has been terrific. If you don't like TouchWiz, and I think this is the least offensive version of TouchWiz yet, or looking at it another way, the best version of TouchWiz yet, but if you don't like it, you can root it. And what else can I tell you? $199.99 officially on contract, already has been discounted around the web. I would put this up there with this device, the HTC Sensation for T-Mobile, I also like quite a bit. The MyTouch 4G Slide I like quite a bit because it has a good keyboard on it, but with a screen this big, maybe you don't need a keyboard. That being said, the other variants of the Galaxy 2S coming soon to a US carrier near you, unless you're on Verizon, in which case you're probably going to get the Nexus Prime or Galaxy Nexus or whatever it's called. So overall, a big thumbs up for the device. The biggest pros about it: super fast processor, really rich, vivid display, and to have a phone with a display this big, but it's still this thin and lightweight, is awesome. Cons, I would say Sprint's network performance has been a con, at least for me out here in the San Francisco area. I would also say the plasticky feeling of the phone, is a con. It's sort of a matter of user preference, but to me a little bit of a con. And yeah, not the TouchWiz, if you're an Android purist and you prefer stock Android, that would be a con as well. But overall, my buying advice, if you want to go get an Android phone right now, arguably, this is the best one out there in America. I say arguably. Otherwise, if you can wait a couple of weeks, because, 'tis the season for all these phones to be coming out between now and, Halloween probably. So you will have some more choices in the near future. There you go. Let's get these other guys out of the way and focus. The Sprint Samsung Epic 4G Touch Galaxy S2, available now. Thanks to the folks at Sprint for lending us this one. Much more on this phone, including a written review. If for some reason you've gotten through this whole video review and you want to know more about what I think of this phone, or more importantly, you can go over to the review and post your own comments if you've used this phone. We'd love to know what you think. Over on technobuffalo.com. Till next time, my name is Noah. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.